Today on the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast, it's a short one, the smartest move I've ever made.
Why aren't the people in Washington putting themselves in harm's way? Why aren't they walking the walk as well as talking the talk? Their position in Washington is to do the will of the people. I don't see anybody in Washington doing the will of the people anymore. The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I am DML, and you are listening to the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast. The exclusive sponsor of this program is DMLCBD.com. Go there today and get the best CBD products that can make you feel great again. This podcast is for independent thinkers who want to recapture the great American experience, and they know it all starts with sharing the unfiltered facts, truth, and opinions I give you every day. Today's podcast will both shine a light on the solutions that can fix our nation's biggest problems, and it will make you the smartest person in the room. Here we go.
2 days ago on the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast, I interviewed a man named Jovan. It was the longest podcast I've ever had since starting the program here in Florida. For 2 hours, we talked about election integrity and what really happened in 2020 based on Jovan's expertise and understanding of audits and technology and everything in that matter. It is, I think, one of the most interesting, revealing, educational podcasts you will find out there. Because most podcasts rush through topics, and if they don't rush through topics, the person who's a guest doesn't really have the time to speak, doesn't have the open floor. There's commercials, or the host feels a feeling of they need to insert their 2 cents. I sat back after a long introduction explaining to Jovan where I stand with the 2020 results and where I think some of the crookedness was, where I can't get my head around how it is that Joe Biden got 81 million votes. I allowed that man for almost 2 hours to just explain ballot harvesting, ballot changing, mail-in ballots, what happens when you put your ballot in, ballot bleeding. The education in that program was insane. And that's why it was the longest podcast I've ever done. Today is going to be the shortest podcast I've ever done. Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida. That's no new news. You know this. And for 51 years of my life, I was a New Yorker, baby. And my family was all raised in New York. I built my businesses in New York. And Mary's family, my family are in New York. Not an easy thing for me to do. The house that I lived in, that we lived in as a family, has been in my family, I should say in the Lynch name, since 1903. So when you've got roots, like we have roots in the New York area, specifically Long Island, it's very hard to say goodbye. But my responsibilities as a businessman and as a father and as a husband supersede having friends and family and history in a state. I can't live based on looking back. I have to live based on planning forward. And as a father, I want the best for my children. As a husband who is married to the woman he fell in love with on the first day of high school, I want our last chapters of life, the next couple of decades. I don't know how long God will give us, but assuming it's another 20 years or 25 years, I want the most for Mary and I. I want our money to go the furthest it possibly can. And most importantly, all together wrapped into one, I want us to feel free. I want Mary and I to be able to embrace America and America to embrace us. And I want us to be able to really feel the fruits of all of our hard work. I have been working really hard since I'm 18 years old. Always working, work anybody under the table. That's what I was taught to do. And it has been beneficial for me. I've made my mistakes along the way, absolutely, but I've had a lot of wins. And usually those wins come because I don't give up and because I really, really put everything, passion, energy, strength, money into what I believe in. When I told Mary it was time for us to leave New York, she pushed back. She pushed back for years. I said, this is not the same state where you and I grew up in. It's getting more radical. It's getting less free. It's getting more expensive. We're not going to be able to enjoy the last decades of our life. We're not going to be able to give our children more than what our parents gave us. We're not going to be able to expand with grandchildren and expand on our businesses for as long as we're in New York. New York is handcuffing us, and we are being victim to our own need to feel safe because we're afraid to break out into a place that's unknown to us. Sure, we've been to Florida 100 times, but we never lived, we never moved anywhere. We always stayed where it was safe for us, and that was New York. I finally got Mary to move. I finally got her to move. And what made her finally say, let's go, was when New York was making the mandates, mask mandates for children and sports and taking these things away from our kids, when they started just going so radical about COVID-19 restrictions, when COVID-19 does absolutely nothing to these children, nothing more than the common cold would do. Yes, there have been a few children who have died of COVID, but those children have underlying issues, things like leukemia. If COVID didn't take them, unfortunately, something else probably would have. And that's horrible to say. And I can only imagine what it's like to be a parent who has to go through that. And it's heart-wrenching. But there are children who die every day in car accidents. We don't ban cars. We don't say that you have to drive your car only 40 miles an hour to be sure that nobody ever goes over the speed limit and makes a mistake. Life has its risks, and we understand this as parents. But New York made it, Democrats in New York made it, to where they felt as if you didn't listen to them, you didn't agree with them, well, then you were stupid. And they had to somehow, some way remove you from your stupidity, and they were going to tell you how to live your life. And when my wife saw the fact that all the promises that we were given in our school district all were taken away, and the masks were then going to double masks, and the sports weren't coming back, she looked at me and said, you win, let's go. I've been a Floridian since January. This entire year, I've been in Florida. You know how many times I've been to the beach? Twice. 2 times I've been to the beach, like officially going to the beach. I live down the block from the beach. So don't think I'm here because I'm just here for the sun and the fun and the coastal living. I'm here because I feel so free. The state of Florida doesn't feel like the rest of the United States. It certainly doesn't feel like New York. When I talk to friends up in New York and I hear what's going on with them and I see the challenges that they're faced with, still kids wearing these masks in school and all the sports being restricted to this or that, and now all these crazy, crazy different business mandates that Biden's putting in, and New York is supporting it 100%. When I look at the crime that's taking place, I spoke to a man yesterday. His mother just died. They're selling their house not far from where I live. And I was looking into it. I was inquiring about it for a friend who was interested in moving to Florida. And I told him I had just moved from New York and, he's selling his parents' home. I asked him where he's from. He said, Virginia. And he said that he was actually selling his house in Virginia and moving to New York. And I started telling him, don't do it. And then I thought, what the hell am I doing? This is a stranger. I don't know who this guy is. Who am I to tell him not to do it? Then today I was on the phone with a girl for business stuff that we're going over with business out of, where the hell was she? Tennessee. And she was asking me what it was like to live in Florida. She's thinking about coming. All of her friends and family are moving to Florida. And I said, it's sensational here. It's a different world in Florida. And it really, truly is a different world. Ron DeSantis did something which I think is so important. I'm going to read it to you straight from Fox News. Ron DeSantis signed 4 bills from the COVID-19 special legislative session into law, which will require private employers to allow vaccine exemptions, including, but not limited to, health or religious concerns, pregnancy or anticipated future pregnancy, and past recovery from COVID-19. So basically, every single person basically has a way of getting out of the vaccine. The legislation also prevents schools from requiring students to be vaccinated, strips the Surgeon General's ability to mandate vaccines, and takes steps for Florida to exit the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, also known as OSHA. Ron DeSantis is acting the way a president should act. He said nobody should lose their job due to heavy-handed COVID mandates, and we had a responsibility to protect the livelihoods of the people of Florida. That's why he says he signed these bills. When he was done, the crowd there chanted, "Let's go, Brandon." Now, call it irony or great planning, if you will, but he signed these bills into law in Brandon, Florida. It is disgusting to think that one state is now becoming the one and only shining pillar of this entire country. And so this podcast today has 2 points of reference that I want you to take away. Number 1, I don't know if you can or you cannot afford to make a move. But I am telling you, aside from marrying my wife, the single smartest choice I've ever made in my life was moving my family to Florida. And I only wish I would have done it long before this 2021. I wish I would have done it long ago. The place is just spectacular. The second reference is this. Although I hate the idea of thinking that I would lose Ron DeSantis as the governor of this state, I do realize that nothing lasts forever, and we have to have somebody else fill his shoes. I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a whirl. Either way, I know many people out there support Donald J. Trump. In fact, many people say they love him. And many people, including myself, feel as if he got robbed of his presidency, not just in the election, but go back to the Russia BS that they tried to tell us was Putin forcing hackers and forcing ads onto the American people to change things, to change the election so Trump would win. That's nonsense. And it turned out to be a huge freaking lie, like everything the left does. Donald J. Trump did an amazing thing for this country. He got people off the sidelines. He woke them up. People who never realized how the media lies like it lies, they do now. They understand it now. Donald Trump opened the cap to the bottle that was stuck. But to really get the most out of what's inside that bottle, I think takes a different sort of personality and a much younger politician. Ron DeSantis is the perfect man for 2024. There is no close second place. He is sensational. And he has the ability to manage the media. He has the ability to pull in the moms in suburbia that Trump supposedly lost. He understands how to govern, and he doesn't come with the drama. So if you are somebody who is diehard, I'm supporting Trump, he's my only president, boy, I hope you reconsider. It's not a slam on Trump. It's not saying that we don't respect what he did and we don't love what he did. But his time was here, And we'll never forget what it is that he gave to this country. But Ron DeSantis is the man. Take it from a guy who's gone from a blue state to a red state, and I see the differences. Many of you still feel as if you're cornered. Not in Florida. It's a different world here. It is such a different world here. What's happening in Florida is and should be the blueprint for what is happening or should be happening in this country come 2024. We're in a bad place right now, and it's going to feel like passing birth without any kind of sedative, I guess. That's what I remember my wife, the pain of giving birth. It's going to be painful getting to 2024. But if we could put everything we can behind this man, and he will run for president, they all say they won't, but he will. If we could get behind this man and he gets in, which he should be able to get in, for as long as we get in front of all this voter fraud nonsense that's going on, and we can do it, we could get this country back. I've never been more optimistic about the future than I am today. And that took me moving to Florida, because had you taken my temperature in December of 2020, I would have told you this country was gone and there was no way it was ever coming back. Being in Florida, I was wrong in my assessment. Ron DeSantis is the guy for 2024. And that's it for me. Don't forget to go to dmlcbd.com/gift, GIFT. We've been doing great with these. This is the Christmas Hanukkah pack. It comes in a bubble pack. You pull out, and what do you got? You got Miracle Me, the body oil, the pain relief body oil. I use it every single day. I'm pain-free. The hand and foot cream, great for hydration, getting rid of the cracks, nice, smooth, goodbye calluses. And then the face serum. You don't want those lines. You're starting to get those wrinkles. You want to at least diminish them a bit. Ooh, this is the magic in a bottle. Give this gift to one of your loved ones. Typically, it would be $175 right now up until Thanksgiving. We're offering it for $125 for DML CBD existing customers, DML podcast listeners and viewers, Team DML members, and DML app users. I'm not going to Facebook yet. When I go to Facebook and put this out to the masses, they're going to swallow it up. Get in there now for $125. Save yourself $50. The price goes up on Thanksgiving by $25. DMLCBD.com/gift. I'll be with you tomorrow, God willing. And I do apologize for our tardiness today on the program. We had a guest scheduled this morning, but our internet here, somebody must have hit a pole on the main highway, because our internet for the past 2 days has been sporadic at best, actually 2.5 days. And they finally fixed it going back about a half hour ago. So I figured at least to give you a podcast, a short one, albeit. I wanted to talk about Ron DeSantis because those 2 phone calls just triggered me into saying, I got to tell people about how great it is here. And that's that. DMLCBD.com/gift. Until tomorrow, may God bless you, our troops, these United States, your entire family, and the great governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, future president of the United States.
This podcast is produced by Anita Griffey, Lori McLean, and yours truly. And you could subscribe by going to the Apple Podcasts page and search for Dennis Michael Lynch Podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Or you can download the DML News app from the Google Play Store for Android phones and the Apple App Store for iPhones. And do not forget to visit our sponsor, DMLCBD.com, so this way you can feel great again.